Hey, so I'm coming to you from the car. I'm here for the really big, really cheap, really good book sale. I always forget the order of those. This year, I have plans. First off, I have 5 reusable bags. That's just one of them. There's another one inside of that one. Last year I got 19 books. This year I plan to get a lot more. So first off, one of the things I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be getting, if they have any Harry Potter hardcover books, I'm going to be getting those because I have book covers that I've gotten from like a fan site that makes them like into magical books, and I'd rather not buy them new. And then the other thing that I'm going to be looking for primarily are, okay, so let me rephrase that. I have goals of series that I finished and looked over. I want to get a bunch of those. I'm going to be looking for different authors that I've heard about but I haven't read anything from, because my goal with these books is to make like a little library. Because, you know, with my occasional overdue finds, basically if I can average 16 books per bag, because some of these bags are smaller than the others, then that's less than $1 per book. I'm not going to add them to my owned list until I've read through them. I'm going to make it like it's a library. And so I'll get to it, I'll read through it and see if I like it or not. So I plan to get a lot of books, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to get there right when they open. I'm 20 minutes before they open. There's already a massive line. I mean, that's what you get when you can pay $10 with your bag for a bag and fill it with as many books as possible. They do have this spot where, and that's why I have multiple bags. I don't intend on carrying all of these bags the whole time, obviously, and I'm by myself, so I can't just have somebody watching my bag. They have a spot where you can leave your bag and go keep shopping until you check out. So that's what I plan to do, 5 bags. Should I go stand in line? I don't know. I didn't bring my headphones. I'm probably not gonna stand in line, who knows? But anyway, I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna get some B-roll while I'm there. How much will depend on, are there people around me, etc., etc., and also like holding the bags and the camera. So here we go.
I've been out of my head, can't get out of bed. Too much on my brain, but got it good, can't complain. It's like I'm losing my mind, and time's hard to find. What's a girl gotta do to catch a break up? When life tries to test me, I take it one day at a time. 'Cause I was crying yesterday, but look at me today. It has been so long since I wrote a sad song. Sunshine on my face, I'm feeling okay. Nothing's in my way. I'm good, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good.
Okay, so I am back, and I did not realize that I spent an hour and a half in there. So all those goals that I set out before I went in, yeah, accomplished none of them. It felt really weird. It felt a lot smaller than it has in years past. Like there were multiple rows of tables that they've had out before that they didn't have out, and they didn't have like some specific author sections. No Harry Potter books, none of the series that I was really interested in. The YA section was like 2 tables. That was it. I'm like, does no one give up YA books? Now, granted, you're gonna find a lot of older books, a lot of mass market paper book, tons of Danielle Steele and Tim LaHaye and what's his name, Jenkins. You're gonna find a lot of those. So I get that, but also it was really disappointing. So I brought actually 6 bags with me because there was another one in there that I didn't realize. Yeah, I paid for 2 because I crammed another 7 into 2 bags. Boy, was that difficult to carry. I ended up with 3-ish bags. I haven't totaled them up yet. I'll do a little book haul when I get back there. Some that I'm gonna try. I ended up with a lot of nonfiction. Felt like I was getting all of Bob Woodward's books, but I'll talk about that when I get back. Disappointing-ish. Hey, maybe I'll try some new ones because of this. Book haul coming next. So I've made it back. I split up the 2 bags into 3 bags so I could get it out to the car. And I'm going to very quickly go over what I got in this haul. I'm going to go over it quickly because for a lot of these, I don't remember what they're about. They just intrigued me and I decided to pick them up. Most of them actually are nonfiction and unfortunately not nearly as much YA as I wanted because again, 2 tables worth. Without further ado, here we go. I will say a lot of these are going to be on a theme of politics and the historical approach to politics. I've always been intrigued by that, but also a little wary, especially after the last administration. So the first one that we have, and the dots that you'll see on there are for the pricing from Saturday, and I may need to start going to Saturdays, but I'm gonna take all those dots off. But the first one we have is Crime in Progress, Inside the Steele Dossier and the Fusion GPS Investigation of Donald Trump. I wanna learn more about it. Next we have How I Shed My Skin, Unlearning the Racist Lessons of a Southern Childhood. I think it's timely. I don't know whether this was written by an African American or a white man, so that'll be interesting to see. And some of these are more focused on academic stuff, some of these in this bag. So next we have Social Services and Ethnic Community. Obviously something I'm passionate about. Next we have Stones for Schools. I'm a little worried about this, but I have read the first book, 3 Cups of Tea. I think this guy leans into the whole white saviorist a little bit. So I'm intrigued to see what he comes up with in this next part and what I think about him. This may be one that I just read and unhaul. Next we have A Fighting Chance by Elizabeth Warren. Part of me almost didn't pick this up because I thought I'd read it before, but I don't own it. So that's why I picked this one up. Next we have an education sort of book that I'm intrigued about, but also kind of, I'm not so sure because it is older and it's also from a perspective that I may not jive with, but I'm not sure. And that is A Mind at a Time, America's Top Learning Expert Shows How Every Child Can Succeed. We'll see if he means every child. Next we have A Very Private Woman, The Life and Unsolved Murder of Presidential Mistress Mary Meyer. I know nothing about this, so I'd like to learn some more. Next, we have The Life and Times of the Thunderbolt Kid, a memoir by Bill Bryson. I have the first part of his memoir on my TBR, so I figured I'd go ahead and pick this up. Next, we have one that I might just end up hate reading. I just decided to pick that up because I wanted to see how she approached things, because this Elizabeth Gilbert is an interesting woman. So this is Committed, A Skeptic Makes Peace with Marriage. So this is a follow-up to Eat, Pray, Love. Next we have Defying the Odds, Triumphant Black Women of Newark. I'm keeping the books as I talk about them in stacks of 10 so that I can count them easier at the end to see how many I actually ended up with. Next we have a book that I think I've heard about on a podcast, and or at least the person like came on and shared a story, and that is The Know-It-All One Man's Humble Quest to Become the Smartest Person in the World. Interesting. Then one that I was really excited to see. This is going to be some technical stuff. The Mueller Report. One of the things that helped me learn so much was getting the 9/11 Commission report, which I have on my shelves. But this is presented with related materials by the Washington Post. So I'm really intrigued to get to this. I did manage to find one book that's on my very, very long TBR. That is College Unbound by Jeffrey Selingo. I'm not sure why they have 2 white dots on there, but maybe the first person couldn't see it because it was white. Next, we have one that I know that I've read, but I'm not sure if I own or not. And I was getting so many books, it ended up, I was like, I'll throw it in there. If I have it, then I'll donate it again. And that is American Sphinx, The Character of Thomas Jefferson by Joseph Ellis. Next, we have a Penguin classic that I didn't really know about. And oh, it feels so good, so nice and floppy. And that is Power Concedes Nothing Without Demand. Unsung, Unheralded Narratives of American Slavery and Abolition. So I'm really excited about this one. Then we have one that I'm interested to see, even though it is fairly outdated as an academic work because it was published in 2001, and that is Poverty, Inequality, and Health. Next we have another one that's probably going to be really hard-hitting, and that is Separated: Inside an American Tragedy. This is about the family separation policy of the previous administration. Next we have one that I believe I've read, but I may not have, and that is Peter the Great: His Life and World by Robert K. Massey, who is an expert on all things Romanov history. Then we have Palestine, Peace, Not Apartheid by Jimmy Carter, former president. And then wrapping up my nonfiction section, I have quite a few books by Bob Woodward. I blame or thank Ashley Bookish Realm for this. First off, one where I probably will get rid of the dust jacket because it, I believe, is his most recent one. This is Rage. It doesn't have a subtitle. Bob Woodward's new book, Rage, is an unprecedented and intimate tour de force of new reporting on the Trump presidency, facing a global pandemic, economic disaster, and racial unrest. I have a lot of respect for Bob Woodward for his reporting and his writing, as evidenced by all of the books that you're going to see next. I may as well start a Bob Woodward section on my shelves if I need like these. We have State of Denial, Bush at War Part 3. Do I have parts 1 and 2? No. The War Within, A Secret White House History, 2006-2008. The Agenda, Inside the Clinton White House. And I like that a lot of these books, yes, they're older, but he has been writing for a really long time, and he approaches it with a journalistic perspective from the times, like very current times, to what he's talking about. Shadow, 5 Presidents and the Legacy of Watergate. Veil, The Secret Wars of the CIA, 1981 to 1987. Plan of Attack, and The Choice. So all in all, that's 8 Bob Woodward books. So next we're going to transition over into fiction. So some of these I know a little bit about, some of these I don't. One of those that I have, that I do know about, is The Epic Fail of Arturo Zamora. I can't remember if I already own this or not, but it's one that I love so much that I want to have a school copy and a home copy. And you can see that I read it because it was an SCASL Book Award nominee. Another one that I know about is Assassin's Apprentice. Obviously, I'm a Robin Hobb stan, and I saw this and I'm like, I think I want to collect the different types of it. Will I ever read it? No. This version of it, I mean, if I read a hardcover version, it's gonna be that one. Obviously, the illustrated version, but just iconic. And this, see, I think it was these types of covers. So many of the fantasy books in that section were full of these sorts of covers. This is what turned me off of adult fantasy because it's so cheesy. And I thought it was cheesy back when they were being published. And then one that I'm really excited about, and an author that I looked for specifically last year but didn't find any. This was actually the first book that I picked up. That is My Grandmother Asked Me to Tell You She's Sorry. I don't know if this is going to be the first Bachman book that I read, but it is the first one that I now have in my library. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about these other fiction ones. There was, say, something that appealed to me, so I got it. First of those fiction books, I got 3 Anne Mccaffrey books because I have heard really good things. I don't know how long these will sit in my little library section without me reading it, but I've heard good things. So we have Dragon Song, Black Horses for the King, and Freedom's Landing. That's my foray in Anne Mccaffrey. And then I said that I wasn't going to give her another chance. So I'm not really sure why I picked this one up, especially since it's book 4 in this series. But I picked up Empire of Ivory by Naomi Novik. I'm looking at the others. I have no idea what any of them are about. So we'll talk about the handful of young adult middle grades books that I found, and then I'll mention the others. This is What We Found in the Sofa and How It Saved the World. Look cute. Island of the Aunts. I pronounced it like that, you know. Aunts, not ants. Shylock's Daughter, which is a play on The Merchant of Venice. Okay, in no particular order, here we have the rest of them. Mother of Pearl by Melinda Haynes. I hate this cover, but The Order of the Eternal Sun by Jessica Leek. The good thing about some of these old covers is if a prompt comes up, ugly cover, now I have some options. The Half-Wives by Stacia Peltier. Mazel by Rebecca Goldstein. Oh, this is nonfiction. It was just in the fiction section because that's where it was shelved. It was shelved incorrectly, but this is Good Neighbors, The Democracy of Everyday Life in America. The Anatomy Lesson by Nina Segal. I got this because it was in such nice condition, and I'm mildly interested in the synopsis, and that is Cutting for Stone by Abraham Verghese. Putting them into stacks of 10, 44 books. Because I crammed them into 2 bags, I spent $20 for 44 books, which means they were about 47 cents each. I would say that's a win. How many of them am I actually going to read? I'm not sure. That's to be decided. There you have my really big, really cheap, really good book sale vlog haul deal thing. Maybe next year I need to go on Saturday to see the other selections, or maybe we need to just drum up people actually unhauling more recent books instead of the books that they got out of their grandmother's attic. Thanks so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next one.